Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to put a clasp on the sparkling bangle. And this is what it looks like with the clasp, and this is what it looks like on the wrist, and these are what the units look like individually. And I will show it to you off the wrist, and then we'll get started. And here's what it looks like off the wrist. It's quite pretty. So let's take a peek at the previous bangle that I made with this stitch and at the material list and get started with this project. In a previous tutorial, I showed you how to make this bangle bracelet. Several people asked me to show them how to clasp it so that it is not a bangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include the original footage of that bracelet for the first step of the bracelet, and then I will cut into it, show you the length to make for a regular bracelet that has a clasp, show you how to put on the clasp, and do the final embellishment. So there will be the original video at the beginning, so it may look familiar to you, but it will end up being the clasped version of this bracelet. What we'll need for this tutorial is we will need 15 O-seed beads, 11 O-seed beads, and 8 O-seed beads. I am using galvanized permanent finish aluminum in the Toho line for all three. We will also need some 4mm round crystal beads, and I have a bunch of these on my website, so if you don't have any, and I will be adding just a few more in a couple days too. So if you don't have any, you can check it out there at ggctreasures.com, and I'll leave a link below. We will be putting on a clasp this time. So I've got this tiny little lobster claw. Well, it's not tiny, it's decent size. I will measure it and put it in caption. And I've got a closed jump ring. I'm going to use the lobster claw and the closed jump ring for this particular closure. However, you can sew on the exact same way a toggle if you would like, or whatever type of clasping you prefer to use. We'll be using some 10-pound Nanofil. You can also use 8-pound Nanofil. You can also use 4 or 6-pound Fireline. You will need to extend your Fireline as you're doing this, so I will post a link for a video that will show you how to do that in the description box beneath the video player. We will put onto a size 12 beading needle about a wingspan to start out with. Any more than that makes it a little bit difficult to work with, and you can always extend, and you will need to. So wingspan is when you spread your arms out from side to side. You measure from your fingertips of your first arm, the length of that arm across your chest, the length of the second arm, and to your fingertips on that arm. And that is a wingspan. Go ahead and put that on your beading needle, and we will get started. Okay, to start this tutorial, you'll pick up an 8 O-seed bead onto your needle, and then 2 11-O, and an 8-O, and 2 11-O. And pardon my fingernails, they need to be done. I am sorry. Haven't had time. So this is what you should have. You should have 2 11-Os, or an 8-O, 2 11-Os, 8-O, 2 11-Os, just like that. And then we're going to grab a hold of these and bring them down to the end of the thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, but leave a couple inches to tie a knot with. Then we're going to go back up through the first 8 O-seed bead, and we're going to pull our thread through. Hold on to the tail, hold on to that 8-O, and just pull your thread around like this. Now we're going to sew back through these beads 2 11-Os at a time and 1 8-O at a time to retain the shape we want. It will goof up a little bit, but it helps retain it a little bit. So let's go through the first 2 11-Os and hold on to your piece between your thumb and your finger, and then go into the 8-O. And again, hold on to your piece between your thumb and your finger so that you can pull your thread through without totally destroying your little unit. Then go up into the next 2 11-O seed beads right here, and put your thumb over it and pull. Right here, We are right where our tail thread and our working thread meet, and we are going to tie a knot with the two threads. So just tie a knot, just a little simple overhand knot, and pull it down on that thread between the beads and tighten your piece. That's just going to hold the piece for us. If we don't do that, it's going to pull apart. So now this is what you should have, just like this. Now you're going to go into this first 8/0 seed bead, and the first couple units are a little harder because there's not much to hold on to, but as you get going it gets a little simpler. So just go into this 8/0 right here, and then you're going to pick up a 15/0 seed bead and one of your crystals and a 15/0 like this. You're coming out of this side of the 8/0. Let me get just a little bit closer. You're coming out of this side of the 8/0. You're going to go across to the opposite 8/0 and go into the same side. You're exiting on the other one, just like this, and put your thumb and your finger over it and pull the thread through gently until you can push that crystal right on top of the unit and just pull it down the best you can. Just like that. It's not going to be perfect yet. That's okay. Then you're going to pick up a 15/0 seed bead and you're going to go into the crystal. Just like this. Put your thumb over the top of it. Pull your thread through gently. This will allow you to keep your unit together nicely and tighten as you pull through. Just like that. And then you're going to pick up one more 15/0 seed bead. Now we need to go into the opposite side of the 8/0 we started in. So we started over here. We're going to go in on this side, right here. I'm going to put my thumb over it and pull this 15/0 down. And here is when you'll tighten everything so that it looks good. Your 15/0s aren't going to lay absolutely perfect, but you want to push them down so there's not a whole bunch of threadiness. There will be a little at this point, but arrange your 15/0s a little bit. Bring them up over the 8/0s and pull. And this is what you should have, just like this. Then we're coming out of this 8/0 seed bead right here. There's a little thread there. And we're going to go into the two 11/0s on the side of the unit, right here. And we're going to pull our thread through. Now, if you'd like to, you can trim down your tail a little bit if it's too long and it's in your way. I'm just going to leave mine for now. And we're going to make a second unit by picking up an 8/0 seed bead and two 11/0s and an 8/0. We have two 11/0s on this unit already. That will be our second set of 11/0s that we will share. So we're coming out of this side of the 11/0s. We're going to go into the opposite side of the 11/0s. And having a size 12 needle is really going to help you with this, and using a smaller diameter of thread. That's why I recommend Nanofil. Oops. Because sewing through these can be difficult if you do not have the right size thread and needle. Now I've come through the 11/0s. I'm going to go through this 8/0 here by itself, put my thumb over it, pull. Then I'm going to go through these two 11/0s by themselves, put my thumb over it, hold it steady, pull, and then I am going to go right through this 8/0 here. Now we're going to put our crystal on after we go through this one, and it's going to pull a little bit away from the previous unit, but that's okay because as we come back around we'll tighten that. So don't worry too much about it, but do hold on to it like I'm doing as you pull your thread through so that you don't get too much separation. And then pick up a 15/0 seed bead and a crystal and a 15/0 onto your needle, just like this. And then you're going to go straight across into the opposite 8/0 on the same side we're coming out of. So it will be the side closest to the previous unit. So I'm just going to turn this a little bit and go into that 8/0. And like I said, right now it's hard to hold on to, but you can see that I'm just going through that 8/0 right there, putting my thumb over it and then gently pulling my thread. Now my tail is in the way, so I'm just going to move it and pull this thread until I can bring the crystal down on top of that little unit we made, just like that. Now I will pick up a 15/0 seed bead and I will go through the crystal here and put my thumb over it and pull. Give it a little tug so that you tighten everything up. It's not going to be perfectly tight right now. Just get it looking as decently as you can at this point. And then you're going to pick up a 15/0 seed bead. You're going to go into the opposite side of the 8/0 from which you started. So you started on closest to the previous unit. Now you're going to go in on the far side, right here. And that's going to anchor the other half of the crystal down. We're going to pull that 15/0 down into place, and then we have to sew through the 2 11/0s between the two units. So I'm just going to turn it over so you can see. I'm going to go between these two, or into these 2 11/0s right here, right between my two units. I'm going to hold on to it and pull it through. Then I can just turn my unit back over, and you can do that without turning it over, but I want you to see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to go into this 8/0. Now that's going to tighten everything up because it kind of pulls away until you go through those 2 11/0s. Then as you come through this 8/0, you can pull and tighten it. And then go up into the 2 11/0s next to the 8/0 you just came out of, the 2 on the side here. Hold on to your units so nothing messes up. Pull your thread through, give it a tiny tug, make sure everything looks good, and we'll begin another unit. So we'll pick up an 8/0, 2 11/0s, and an 8/0. And we'll go into the opposite side from which our thread is coming out of these 2 11/0s and go up through them, just like this. Pull. And then I'm going to turn my unit just a little bit so I can sew until I get to this 8/0 here. So we're going to go through this one by itself to retain shape. And I'm just going to snip this off just a little so I don't keep catching it. Leave a little bit hanging out still, so just in case your knot slips or something. And then I'm going to go into these 2 11/0s by themselves. Hold on to them. And then I am going to go into this 8/0 right here. So you sew all the way around until you get to the opposite 8/0 from which you start. And then you're going to pick up a 15/0 seed bead, a crystal, and a 15/0. Then you're going to go across to the opposite 8/0 from which you're coming out and go into the same side, which will be the side closest to the previous unit. And just pull your thread through. Bring that crystal down and give it a little tug. Now it's a little bit easier to manage because I've got a little bit more to hang on to. So the first 2 might be a tiny bit of a struggle, but as you get going, it gets a lot easier. Pick up a 15/0 seed bead, go into the crystal on this side now. Hold on to your crystal and pull. And just straighten things up. Pick up a 15/0, and then you're going to go into the opposite side of the 8/0 you started in. So we're going to go into this one here. And we're just going to pull that down into place. just like that. Then we're going to go up through these two 11-0s that we connected to right here. I'm going to hold on to all 3 units and pull so that I can make sure everything stays just the way I want it to, just like this. And then I'm going to go into this 8-0 here, and then down into the two 11-0s. Let's do one more unit, then we'll go to length. So pick up an 8-0 seed bead, two 11-0 seed beads, and an 8-0. Just like that. And you're coming out of this side of the two 11-0s. Let's go into the opposite side and pull these down. Now we're going to go into this 8-0 seed bead right here. I'm going to hold on to it with my thumb, pull down, and then go into these two 11-0s right here. And then I'm going to go into this 8-0 here. And I'm just going to pull my thread through. Then I'm going to pick up, and you see how I have a little separation here between the two units? That's okay. Don't worry about that too much, because as you sew back through, you can pull that together. So pick up a 15-0, a crystal. Come here, crystal. Oh, you little turkey. Come here. And a 15-0. And we're coming out of this side closest to the previous unit. We're going to go into the opposite 8-0, into the side closest to the previous unit, and we're just going to pull the thread through. Just like that. Then we'll pick up a 15-0, go into the crystal again, here, hold on to it, pull your thread, pick up a 15-0, go into the opposite side of the 8-0 from which you started, here, and I'm going to hold on to it. And now, as I go through these two 15-0s, I can tighten everything up. So, or 15-0s, excuse me, 11-0s. The two 11-0s between the two units, the one we've connected to. I'm just going to pull this through and pull it down, and everything gets cinched together and looks good. And then we're going to go through the 8-0 here, up through the two 11-0s. Okay, so I continued my stitch until I have gone to length. My length is 39 units, so just count your crystals and until you have 39, or you're an inch short of the length that you want your bracelet to end up to be. This length right here is about 6.5 inches because I want my bracelet to be about 7.5 inches. So if you need to make a few more units, you can do that. I have made 39 units, and I am now coming out of these two 11-0s on the very last unit after making it, putting on my embellishment and sewing around. I am now coming out of these two 11-0 seed beads. We are then going to get one of our ends of our clasping here. So let's put on the lobster claw end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up two 11-0 seed beads and an 8-0, and then two 11-0 seed beads and an 8-0. Drop this down, and then I'm going to go through my clasp right here. And then I'm going to go back through the 8-0. And just like this, just the 8-0 seed bead, and I'll get a little closer here. So I'm just going through the 8-0. I'm going to put my thumb over it, hold on to it between my fingers, pull my clasp down, just like this. And then I've got a little bit of slack here, so I'm just going to push those beads down, hold on to it again and give it a little tug until I don't have any clasp between my or any slack between my bracelet and my 11-0 seed beads. Then I'm going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads, and I'm going to go back through these 2 11-0s that I just connected on the opposite side to. It's like this. And then, let's back off just slightly, pull this through. Just like this. Now we're going to sew back through this entire thing. You can sew through once or twice, depending upon how you feel it's secure and how tight your beads are getting. So what we're going to do is we're coming out of the 2 11-0s. We're going to go up into these 2 11-0s and the 8-0 and then through the clasp, just like this. Pull it through. Go back down into the 8-0 and the 2 11-0s on the opposite side, right here. And I'm just going to put my thumb over it and pull. And then we're going to go through the 2 11-0s here. Now go ahead and sew through that one more time. And when we come back, we will start an embellishment moving towards the other side, put the clasping on, and then do the embellishment on the opposite side of the bracelet. So one side is clasped and ready. We just need to embellish and move down to the other side. So go ahead and sew through that one more time. Okay. So I have finished securing my ending here, and I am coming out of the 2 11-0s here. I'm going to go on my clasping, I'm going to go up into these 2 11-0s one more time. And now it's getting a little tight, so that's why I told you if you can't get 3 passes of thread through, that's okay too. What we're going to do now is we are going to pop up into this 8-0 seed bead here. Now for this, you want a pretty good amount of thread left, so if you need to, go ahead and extend your thread. And then what we're going to start doing is we are going to start putting an 11-0 seed bead between each 8-0 seed bead. So I have an 11-0 on my thread here, or on my needle, and then I'm coming out of this 8-0, I'm going to go into the next 8-0 on my bracelet. I'm just going to hold on to it and pull that 11-0 down between the 2 8-0s. And we're just going to travel the entire length of the bracelet, putting 11-0s between the 8-0s. So just go into the next 8-0. Excuse me, something's blocking my bead there. Let's go into the next 8-0, pull your 11-0 down. Make sure it pops between those 2 beads. I see what's happening. It's my 15-0 seed bead. I went through it. So that can be a problem. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pull this out. Then I'm going to back this out of this 15-0 here. And then I'm going to put my needle back on and continue traveling down. So I just am going to leave this footage in so you can see if you have an issue like that, how you can correct that. I'm going to go ahead and put my needle back on, and I'm just going to continue traveling between 8-0 and 8-0, putting 11-0 all the way the entire length of the bracelet till we get to the end, and we will be back. I'm just going to show you, since that was cut short, this is what it looks like as you travel through and put the 11-0 in. And if you lay it over your fingers like this, it's a lot easier, so you won't run into the issues I ran into. Just go towards your finger like this and pull your bead through. Otherwise, as you're going through, you will scoop up a 15-0. I've done it a couple of times. So just go through the next one, and then go towards your finger at an angle, and just continue pulling those 11-0 seed beads in between the 8-0s. Let me show you what it looks like. And it will start to curl your piece a little bit, and that's okay. Continue to the end. Okay, so now I have gone the entire length putting my 11-0 seed beads in. I'm coming out of
this 8/0 seed bead, I have one more 11/0 to put in. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop up into this next 8/0 here and pull this down. Now make sure you have a decent tension on this side, that there's no slack. You don't want it to bunch, but you want a decent tension. And then you're going to go into these two 11/0s here and just ignore your tail, move it out of the way. I'm not going to cut it down just yet because I want to make sure that nothing's loose. And I'm going to come up into these two 11/0s here, making sure I'm still maintaining my embellishment tension on this side. And then I'm going to pick up two 11/0 seed beads and an 8/0. And then I'm going to pick up my jump ring. Now this is a closed jump ring I'm using. It's about an 8mm jump ring. And first I'm just going to drop my seed beads down. And then I'm going to bring my jump ring down to the 8/0, and it always wants to fall over your beads. So just lay it right next to that last 8/0, go into the 8/0, and just the 8/0, hold on to your beads like this, and then pull this down until it's pretty much flush against that 8/0. You don't want it to be too horribly tight because you need to get back up through there again. But make sure that it's close. Now, two 11/0 seed beads on this side. So we're coming out of the 8/0 here. We're going to go into this side now. And pull this through. And this is a little tight over here, so see if I can get through. And that's what that should look like. Now sew through again, and then we'll come through and start putting our 11/0 seed beads on there. You can also cut down after you go through here and start putting some of your 11/0s in. I'll show you. We'll cut this down and burn it down a little. So go ahead and sew through that one more time, and we'll be back. Okay, so I have sewn through again, and I'm coming out of the 11/0s here. Now mine was a little tight. I was able to sew through twice, but it was a little tight. It just depends on how much thread you put through that first unit. Now this little tail here, you can just cut this down. I'm just going to cut it down some, and then I will just burn that tail down with the lighter. Just get the flame close and let it burn in. Right now I don't have one with me, so I will have to get one. Now I'm coming out of these 11/0s. I'm going to pop up into the side 8/0 here on the opposite side that we put the 11/0s in last time. And then I'm just going to start sliding 11/0 seed beads in between the 8/0s again. So I'll pick up an 11/0, and I'll go from this 8/0 I'm coming out of into the next 8/0 and pull through. And I'll just continue all the way down the side putting 11/0 seed beads in until I get to the end, and then I will show you how to tie off. Just like this. So continue placing your 11/0s, and when we get to the end, we'll be back. This is what it looks like so far. Okay, so I have gone all the way around, putting in my 11/0s, and I'm coming out of this 8/0 seed bead here now, and you can see how this is just kind of pulled around and made it kind of a rounder shape and just filled in all the little spaces. It's quite pretty. And I'm coming out of this 8/0 seed bead here now after putting all the 11/0s on this side. I'm going to give a gentle tug. You don't want to bunch it, but you don't want any slack. And then I'm going to go into these two 11/0s on this side. Now they are getting tight, so we're just going to see if we can go through these one more time. And we can. That's good. And pull it tight so that you don't have any slack in your embellishment. Let's get you a little closer. Now we are coming out of this bead right here, this 11/0, these two here underneath our clasping. We're going to tie a knot. Make sure that your embellishment on the other side is tight. Give it a little tug. Go underneath this thread bridge between this 8/0 and the two 11/0s you're coming out of right here. And tie a knot. making sure that your thread will go between the beads as you pull it down. So just pull it down, give a good little tug so that you know that your embellishment on the other side is tight. Sew down a few of the 11/0s and 8/0s.
Just get down a little ways, doesn't matter how many.
And pull through. Make sure you don't pull anything out of whack. I've got my little tail there. I think that's what that is. I'm hoping that's what that is. But I don't think it is. Nope, I got caught. So make sure to check and see if you get caught.
And then let's turn this over.
And let's just tie a knot. I'm going to go through these two if I can. Just cross over to give it a little bit more security. And see if we can pull through those two. Yeah, we can pull through. So I've just gone from this 8/0 down into these two 11/0s, and then I'm going to tie a knot between the 11/0 and the 8/0 right here.
So right there, I'm just going underneath those beads. We get you really close, just like this.
And then I'm going to pull my thread through, try to control my loop, go through my loop. And then as I pull this down, I'm going to pull it down slowly and guide it between my beads.
Just like that. And then you can
sew down a few more and tie a few more knots if you'd like. I'm just going to go into a few more. And I'm just going to cut my thread off. I'm going to cut it close since I don't have a lighter nearby. And let's see, where's my tail? Maybe I'll cut that down a little bit more. Cut it down. Nah, I'll have to melt that one in. But
let me show you what this looks like really close up. It's quite pretty. And then let me back off and show you.
I'm going to move all this stuff out of the way.
And show you what it looks like, just laying on its side there. And then I will go ahead and put this on my wrist so you can see what it looks like. Now you lose a little bit of length when you pull your beads together. So if you want to make sure that your bracelet's going to fit perfectly, you may want to go one more unit than you would have originally, leaving that 1 inch for your clasping. You may want to make one more unit just to make sure that you don't lose too much length. Now this is going to fit me just perfect. I can put another jump ring on here too, so if I want a little bit looser, a little bit more movement on my wrist, I can get another jump ring and put it on here, maybe put a little dangle on it or something like that. So I'm not stuck with my length because I used a jump ring. I can always add to it. I'm going to put this on. I'll come back and show you what it looks like. It's really pretty. And here's the clasping. And let me get you real close so you can see the units, because the crystals just kind of blob together. You don't really see the details as pretty as you do in real life. And then I'll back off so you can see what it looks like too. That's really very pretty. That turned out really nice. And that's how you put a clasp on the bangle bracelet that we made last time. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.